Peace and blessings, everyone. Peace and blessings. It's so good to be here for another Wellness Wednesday. I, of course, am your host, Mrs. Rhonda Wright. I am the founder of Seedlings Place. And for those who are new to this weekly live series, Seedlings Place is an organization that's been founded to support persons in their journey to being well, specifically women, families, those who are so busy they often either don't prioritize the time to be well, or they're so caught up in the rat race of just surviving and providing that they're not quite sure how to hop off of that and how to get started. And even when the decision is made that they want to get started, oftentimes we're not sure where to begin. And even when we begin, too often we need the support to help us to maintain and sustain the lifestyle that we want, that brings health and wellness, abundance and joy for ourselves and for our families. And so Wellness Wednesday is a weekly chat that we have here on Seedlings Place on our Instagram page that allows us to delve into the conversations that are important to me and my family, and by extension I know are also important to you and your family, as you too are our family here at Seedlings Place, and as you are our community. And it is for you that we do this work. We are founded on the basis of incorporating plant-based foods into our everyday lifestyle. And we understand the importance of and the fact that we are what we eat. And we encourage persons to incorporate as many whole food plant-based meals into their everyday lifestyle as much as possible, if not 100%. But wherever you are on your journey, even if it is 1 degree of change, because just 1 degree really can make a mountain of difference. And so we're here to provide the information, the inspiration, the guidance, the tips, the tools, and the support and resources, and to connect you with those persons in the community who can help to keep you on track, whether it's with information or with resources as well. And so I'm so excited to be here. We were not here last week Wednesday, and I'll have an opportunity at some point soon in the future to share with you what's been happening in the last few days. As you know, the Love Yourself in Your Health community campaign started a few weeks ago, and we are raring and ready to go and to move full steam ahead with our wellness partners, our campaign presenters, and our wellness partners, all of whom you'll have a chance to meet one by one right here on Wellness Wednesday and at different points in time on our pages. And today is we have a very special guest, because she holds the key, if you will, to helping us ignite that wellness journey and to get going. She's no stranger to Wellness Wednesday. She's been with us before on this live chat, and she's back with us again, and we're so excited to have her to discuss a very important topic, and that is mindfulness. How to begin a mindfulness practice. I think she is here with us, and I'm going to let her in. And as she comes in, put your hands together in the digital space on the World Wide Web, and welcome none other than Dale Wells Marshall. As she comes in, I'm going to introduce her to you so that you can be reminded of who she is. She probably just get a second to come on in, and there she is. Beautiful today. How are you?
Hey Rhonda, I am wonderful. How are you?
I am excellent. So I just want to share a little bit about you with our audience. We know that you're no stranger to Wellness Wednesday. You're no stranger to Stevens Place, and you're no stranger to me personally. I am so grateful to the work that you do for our community. And I'm also grateful to be a benefactor of your work. And so for those of you who don't know, Dale is a certified mindfulness coach. She's with Star Inspired, which is the name of her company. She's also a kids yoga instructor. She's been doing this work for over 10 years. She's an educator for over 18 years. She has two beautiful children, a son and a daughter. She's an author of a children's book, a workshop leader. She's a volunteer and mentor at various youth organizations. And of course, she's offered a variety of mindfulness and meditation programs. She has private consultations as well. And if you have been paying attention to the news, you would have seen her starring in several newspapers this week. The Guardian today has a beautiful article on her, so you can read up about her. And I think there was another one posted yesterday or the day before. And so Dale is making her rounds, and she's living and walking her purpose. And very near and dear to her heart is included in her purpose is ensuring that mindfulness becomes a part of the curriculum in our schools. So we're going to have a chance to speak to that in a step, because that deserves a whole separate podcast in and of itself. We'll have a chance to talk about that. But today, Dale, we are going to talk about how to begin a mindfulness practice. Now, you and I have spoken more than once in regards to this, and I stand by the fact that I believe, and I think you would agree, that if anybody is going to begin or make a shift in their journey or dedicate themselves in some way, shape, or form to something, especially their wellness journey, that mindfulness, what that means, and engaging in that really comes first. And it is, I always say that your work is paramount, because your work and what you teach has to kick in even before what I support and guide persons toward can take hold and root, for people to be successful. So how to begin a mindfulness practice. Dale, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I want you to just say a few more words. I know there's so much. Your profile is long because you have been working and toiling in the community for a long time and contributed so much. So just share a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you do, and why is this work so important to you? Why do you think it's necessary?
Hi, Rhonda. Thank you for welcoming me to Thank you for welcoming me to Wellness Wednesday again. It's always a pleasure to work with you. It's always a pleasure to be a part of your initiatives, because they're so needed in our communities. I think you said a mouthful about who I am. In short, I am a mindfulness and meditation coach for both adults and children. My first love was mindfulness for children, because I do believe that a lot of the traumas that we work through as adults we didn't get the tools early on in life to actually understand, acknowledge those emotions, and then know how to work through them. So in short, a mindfulness meditation coach for adults as well as children. And the reason why I do this work is because it's purpose-driven. It's just this, I think I was just born with this purpose that awakened about 10 years ago, or a little more than 10 years, maybe about 2008. Mm-hmm. That's maybe 12 years, 13 years, I can't count today. And it was to impact children on an emotional level, give them the tools to sort through all of the things so that they can be more evolved than us, so that they can be more emotionally intelligent than we are. And I think that's where the change comes into any community.
Absolutely.
Mastering yourself first,
Absolutely. And so, of course, I know what mindfulness is. I'm sure several of the persons who are joining us, and thank you so much to those who are on with us live. We appreciate you being here, and to those who will watch this replay. But we don't want to assume. So what exactly is mindfulness? It sounds very elusive, and
Right.
for many people, they're not quite sure what that means and how to wrap their minds around that. So just share with us exactly what is mindfulness? What does that mean?
Great. So a lot of people's misconception about mindfulness is that it means meditation or a spiritual journey of some sort. And mindfulness is very, very much a training of the brain. So it's more science-based than spiritually based. We know that mindfulness was practiced by yogis and monks and, for a really long time. And so it has a link to the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
But what's going on a deep cellular level has been proven over and over by studies through neuroscience as an actual brain change. So mindfulness is training the brain to focus in a particular way. In short, just to make it very simple. Right. So there's a famous quote by Victor Rolf that says, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space, there's a power for change. There's a power for you to choose a different response, right? And in the changing of your response is where your growth lies. And that may seem very simple, but when we break it down to small terms, a lot of us are acting on autopilot.
Yes.
We have triggers coming in all the time, and we're reacting without having to think about how we're going to react. It just rises in us. Someone gets us upset and we just lash out, we get angry, we do the same thing that we've always done, withdraw, whatever it may be that is our pattern of responding. So beginning a mindfulness practice starts with the awareness of, here's my pattern, and how do I want to change that pattern over time? Right? So go ahead, sorry.
No, I think it is important for persons to just take a moment to allow it to sink in that it is actually science-based. Because again, a lot of times, when we're talking about wellness and how do we activate that, it seems intangible. But thankfully, science backs up what it is that many of us share, what we're talking about. Eric Adams, I think his name is, he is the mayor of New York, the new mayor of New York City, right? And I heard him giving a talk, watched a talk, a replay of something, and he talked about, similar to what you're saying, our brain, when we are learning something new, there's something that happens, these synaptic connections that take place, neurons that are connecting in our brains. And what that simply means is that there is a lock-in of something, a pattern, as you said, that we're learning. And so, but it goes through a process, right? And this happens obviously without us knowing. And as children, we are learning various things that become a part of our everyday. So we move from knowledge, which is just having an awareness of it, to thinking about it, where you are placing more thought into it, maybe now moving toward making a decision that this is something that I want to learn, want to know, want to do, then moving to actually doing. You've activated that thought. You've now moved into the realm of physically engaging in whatever that new thing is that you're learning or exposed to. And then, of course, when it becomes a part of your being, it's moved from I'm just doing it every once in a while to now where it is a habit and it's a part of your lifestyle. And so we've learned, obviously, as children and as adults, many things that we're brushing our teeth, learning to ride a bike. We don't even think about it anymore. We can just hop on a bike and just start riding. We can just get a toothbrush. We go there, we put the toothpaste on, and we're brushing our teeth. There are many, millions, hundreds of things that we're engaging in every day that we give no thought to, because the synaptic connections have been made and locked in for us to engage. So the power of the brain, as you said, is important for us to understand in our processes. But even more important is understanding that we can change some of those or all of those synaptic connections if we so desire. And that's important to remember, because many of the habits that we engage in now are self-destructive, they're not healthy, but it's because it's what we've learned. It's what's now locked in, right? And so your practice and what you teach people is how to change those synaptic connections. You take them through a process to teach them, which allows them to learn new synaptic connections in their mind, changing those patterns and those habits. But how does one actually begin to do that? Again, it sounds easy, right? But help us to understand, where do you even begin with something like that?
Right. So to put it really simply, neurons that fire together wire together. So we know that we have neurons in the brain, and the brain is very much like the computer system.
Yes.
Right? So the brain is storing information on a regular basis. And once something happens and you respond to it, that then fuses together to give the brain an idea of what we're going to do in the next time this happens, because we're focused on survival. So the brain pretty much is going to try to keep things the same, because it believes that that is stability. And so we've got to tell our brain now a new story of stability for us. We have to dictate to the brain what our locus of control and what our stability is going to look like.
Yes.
And how does that happen? So I want everyone to remember that this is a practice and not a perfect. You're not going to go into one meditation session. You're not going to learn about mindfulness in one session, or even 2 or 3, or even a year, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. It is a practice, because these things have been built up over time. It's taking you time to learn self-doubt. It's taking you time to learn anger. It's taking you time to learn avoidance behavior.
Yes.
And so it's going to take time to undo what the brain is saying. Wait a minute, we're keeping you safe here. This is what's supposed to happen.
Yes.
Right? So how do we get to that point where we're actually going to change the pattern? So number one is becoming aware. Now, when most people think about meditation, they think about, let me sit down and push these ideas out of my head, which is resistance. I don't want these things in my mind. I'm going to push them away. How do I sit down and make my mind as quiet as possible? And so the goal of mindful meditation is not to push those thoughts and feelings away, but to allow them to arise and to observe them, right? So this is how we become aware, and open awareness around what's going on in our brain when we're actually quiet.
So in other words, Dale, because oftentimes, and I am absolutely guilty of this, we want to stuff things away. We don't want to feel it. We don't want to remember, because it's painful in many cases, right? It doesn't. And then we turn to habits that will help to soothe us. That's when we make poor food choices and other things. But you are saying a part of being mindful is don't ignore it, acknowledge it, and feel it.
And the thing is that many of us have learned not to acknowledge it, and not just that. Our days are set up such that you have to keep pushing. There's a quote that I absolutely dislike, and it says, bloom where you're planted. But I mean, if we were to take a seed that grows in Alaska and put it into a tropical zone, or a fruit that needs tropical environment and certain soil, and put it in Alaska, and then tell it, bloom where you're planted, right? That's pretty insensitive. So imagine doing that to a living, breathing thing that comes with its own individual energies, asking it to bloom where it's planted. So our lifestyle itself is set up to keep us moving beyond what we feel, beyond what our innate intuitions and feelings are, and our thoughts. Just put it to the side, because you need to get this done now, whether that means being a mother, being an entrepreneur, whatever it may be. Just keep it pushing, because at the end, we need this thing from you. And so what we're doing in mindfulness is we are allowing a quiet time where there's not the chatter of expectations from the job, expectations from the lover, expectation from the child, expectation from the friends. And we're just saying, let me just sit and see, out of the 60,000, 100,000 thoughts that I'm thinking today, what are some of those things that are going on? What is my dominant pattern at this time? And if we are to sit with our emotions, and our thoughts, and just notice them as they come up, we begin to notice that there's a dominant thread that's going to keep coming up, a pattern that's going to keep coming up.
You know, because I know you're at work,
No,
so
no worries, no worries.
okay. So
Yeah,
you know, I this is a point, and I obviously we don't have all day, but this is a point that is so critical because the reality is, you hit the nail on the head. Life is set up such that it almost intentionally keeps us unaware. You know, as you said, you know, the boss is calling and asking for this, you know, this deadline has to be met. The children are calling on us. And I know what I'm guilty of is I'm always thinking about what I got to do next, what's coming up. I
yeah,
gotta, you know, gotta get this done, etc., etc. And we literally do move on autopilot. I don't know if you've ever experienced when you're driving, you will end up turning through a corner, and a few seconds later you look up and well, I don't know about y'all, but for me, and I don't even remember how I got there.
yes,
Literally, because you're
exactly,
autopilot. It's, you know, you're
exactly.
moving. You're just moving. You're not in the present and really being aware of what is happening. And that is so important because that's, you know, again, every journey, 1,000 steps begin with one, right? And just making
Yeah,
that first step is so powerful because it unlocks so much, and it goes against the grain of what
yeah.
we have been told. Keep going, keep
So,
going. Don't feel it, don't feel it. Don't let
right.
that
So
rest on
we're
you.
in a relationship or we're at a job and all of a sudden we just at a point where we're breaking down
Yeah,
or, you know, we're having a meltdown and I've been there, you've been there, other people have been there. And we're like, how did we get here? And it's because we've had to keep pushing through and not stop
yes.
and acknowledge that inner child or that inner person, that higher self that's saying, wait a minute, there's something that you need to attend to. You know, it's like, all right, we can come back to you. Because this week we always focused on the future, the next moment, instead of right now, what is it that I need so that I can show up as my highest self in the next moment? Or
Exactly.
that I can be whole right now.
Exactly. And so how do you encourage, so just literally, if someone were to walk to move away from this chat today, and they said, you know what, that is so very true, how would you literally suggest, give them a suggestion on what they can do to simply do that, because they're at
Yeah.
work, or they, you know, they get up in the morning, you immediately jump into getting things going for the day. You come home, you're tired, you just want to sleep, or you got to get dinner ready. One simple thing that they can do to just activate that awareness.
All right. So there's actually just not one simple thing that I can say you can do, but it can start by creating a safe space for yourself at least once a day where you can be alone with your thoughts, you can be alone with your feelings, if even for 5 minutes, if even for 10 minutes. And then secondly, make an account of what's coming up for you, whether you need to journal it, whether you need to turn on your voice recorder on the way to work, and just allow a free fall of everything that's been coming up to be released onto the paper or onto the mic. And then once you've recognized what's coming up, that's when you begin to affirm yourself. How is it that I want to move forward? So I'm noticing I'm having a lot of thoughts about how I'm going to get all these things done at work. I'm having a lot of resentful thoughts about how I have to attend to these children when I haven't had time for myself. I'm noticing I'm having a lot of thoughts about how I always have to push my emotions down to make my partner happy. So once you have given yourself that quiet time, you notice what's coming up, get the thoughts out. You can speak them. If you're not a writer, you can write them on the paper. And now is when you're going to create an intention. What is it that I want to do now?
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. For those of you who are on with us again, thank you so much for joining. We appreciate your presence. I know that this is beneficial for you. Please share this with others who are on your feed and invite them in, because this is the beginning, folks. Love Yourself in Your Health is talking about helping people to activate their journey. And this is where it begins. What Dale is sharing is paramount and critical. So after we now have established awareness, and we are practicing that. And I love what you said. My partner Kerry, she always says that life is not about perfection. Same that you said. It is about
Never.
practice, small
Yes.
practices along the way. And so after they become aware,
what next? Okay, so now I know that I hurting, and now I know that I have stress, and I, don't like this person. Now I know all this. What do we do with all that stuff? You said
And that's an awesome
write it
question.
down, and set an intention on what to do with it, right? And what next?
That's an awesome question because we're always aware that something's wrong, right? But we're doing now is a more intelligent awareness around when this thing happens, we have the intention to do something about it. And so even that small change of going from stimulus to response right away, the fact that we are aware now that there's an opportunity after we get the stimulus, where this is rising in our body, we're feeling it in our stomach, we're feeling it in our shoulders building, we're recognizing that something is coming up. We know now that there's a space in which we can take a pause and do something about it. So that in itself is powerful. Because the brain all along was just saying, all right, let's just keep it moving, let's just keep it moving. But now you're putting a different pattern in the brain that says, hey, notice this thing. And even if you continue to do what you've always done, there's going to be a little conscience, a little angel on the shoulder that says, wait a minute, but you said you wouldn't do that again. And that's where the practice comes in. So maybe 2 times out of 10, you'll hold back and you won't say the bad word. Or 3 times out of 10, you may just take a breather, walk away and decide, okay, we can have a conversation about this later. Maybe 5 times out of 10, you're going to say, all right, I feel overwhelmed. So I'm going to take some time away. I'm going to write a to-do list and I'm going to structure this thing, right? So just the awareness alone is the beginning of your transformation. The next step is committing, because once you've recognized that there's something going on, you know what that space looks like. You know you have a space for change. Now committing to that change is what is going to be the key for your transformation.
So, of course, when you start, for example, when you start working out, we like to ask the coach, well, I really need to get rid of this belly. How long it could take me to do that?
Yeah, right now.
So how long, Coach Dale, do I have to do this before I know you said that that's the beginning, and you 2 out of 3 times you may, or 10 times you may make a different decision or go a different direction. But how long I gotta do this? Is mindfulness a forever thing, a 2-month thing, a 6-month thing? When will I begin to feel a change?
You are asking all the money questions. So scientifically speaking, the brain will respond in a 6 to 8 week period of consistent practice of meditation or consistent practice of sitting with yourself and allowing these thoughts to come up and working through them with the breath. Now, I would not advise for a person that is dealing with severe anxiety, stress, panic attacks, overwhelm, burnout, to try to start a mindfulness practice without support. Right. The reason being is, if you are now hyper aware of everything that's going on and you don't have the tools to deal with them, it's going to send you into a deeper plunge of depression, a deeper plunge of anxiety, or you're going to really have some strong panic attacks coming because you're so hyper aware, but you don't have the tools to deal with this thing, right? So 6 to 8 week period of supported in the beginning, making sure that you're doing it the right way, and then continuing a commitment to yourself thereafter to say, I'm going to do this thing for at least 8 weeks. So 8 weeks looks like 2 months, 60 days. No more 21-day challenge, right? 60 days of hard work, of getting up, falling down, missing a day, going back at it. But trauma actually causes the brain to erode. The gray matter in your brain actually erodes, especially when you have traumatic stress. So in the brains of Army veterans and people who have been through traumatic stress and abuse, there's actually spaces that have eroded in their brain. So we would notice that we're missing a lot of memories. The whole events are gone from our memory bank, and that's because of the trauma that we've gone through. So all of the, all of the stimulus, all the stimulants in the ginkgo biloba are not going to do what we can do by rebuilding these memories. Because I remember thinking, like, I'm way too young to be forgetting whole events. And it wasn't until I learned that the brain actually erodes when it's under immense stress.
That is so that then, and I'm not a doctor, so guys, can be a link to dementia,
Definitely.
Alzheimer's. That's the beginning of that, right?
Yes.
Again, when we understand, see, this is so powerful. That's why these conversations must be had, because when we understand the inception and where it comes from, we can then begin to and what it leads to, right? We can then offset and make different decisions so that we don't end up in a particular way. So my question is, if then through trauma and stress, our brain is eroding through what you are describing in terms of this mindfulness practice, can we rebuild it so that either we regain these memories or those gaps that we have are filled in? Is that what can actually happen?
Yeah, so what happens is you actually grow that matter back, right?
Yes.
You grow that matter back like those animals that regenerate, you grow that matter back. But this time, you're filling it with new information, right? And so people may say, give me, like Dale, give me the magic thing that I need to do when it gets stressful. And I say to them, we have to set the foundation first. We have to get to a point where you are conditioning the mind for at least 6 to 8 weeks with this constant practice. So then you will begin to notice that you are more able to handle the stress. You don't get as riled up, or when you get riled up, you accept what's happening and you just deal with it thereafter. It's not going to happen overnight, right? But your brain will rebuild. And this has been shown on scans, CT scans have shown this. There's evidence, there's research. I ask everyone to go and search for themselves. Your brain will rebuild. And it will change the patterns. It's plastic, right? In neuroscience, they call it plasticity. So your brain will bend and move and reshape if you are consistently giving it the directive to change.
Wow, this is powerful. Dale, so I didn't say this at the beginning, but Dale is one of Ceilings Place wellness partners for the Love Yourself and Your Health campaign. So this absolutely, maybe the second, but it won't be the last, because we have to huddle back. This conversation is critical because this is where it begins. And it gives people the hope that they can turn it around no matter what the pattern or habit is, right? I just want to read some comments. My partner, Kerry, who is in Georgia, says that yes, now we can rewire and take time to respond differently. Absolutely. Awareness is the beginning of the transformation. Yes. Pinnacle says, perfect analogy using the coach example. Thank you so much. And Aldat Coco, wow, then clearly I'm not laughing at you because me and you in the same boat. Wow, and clearly I've been stressed for the past 4 years because I'm forgetting everything, right? And I am going to be sharing, large portions of my journey because I am currently working with Dale, and there are many other wellness partners that I'm working with as well. However, I am starting with Dale, who is helping me to one-on-one learn exactly how to do it. And the key part, which I don't want y'all to forget this, is the commitment. The commitment is paramount because, as we know, consistency is key, repetition is key, and at the end of the day, we have to ensure that we engage regularly in order to see the change. And so awareness, commitment, and you talk about letting it come up, feel it, journaling it,
releasing it,
speaking to it, as you said. If you are really experiencing anxiety or extreme levels of trauma, ensure that you are doing this with support. And I want to also let people know that Dale, as I said, she has classes available, and there's nothing like getting this one-on-one, even if it's just to get your journey started. I've had a beautiful experience with Dale. It's personalized, where she gets initial information from you, and she prepares and provides you with a booklet that will guide you on step-by-step what you need to do. Jay Fitness, who is my fitness instructor, another one of our wellness partners, and we have a session tomorrow. He says, it's going to be hard. But thanks to Dale and my mindfulness practice, I'm prepared before I go. I'm going to prepare before I go. Thank you so much, Dr. Booker. Hillary Booker is here. So listen, Dale.
Hi.
Awareness, commitment, journaling to get it out. What else in terms of how, because we want to let the persons who are going to be participating in the Love Yourself and Your Health campaign, these are people who had the knowledge, they may have had the awareness, or maybe didn't, but now they do. They've been thinking, or people who've been thinking about it, but haven't been able to really get going. But now we want to move them to doing, to activating, to getting moving and sharing their journey. What else can you guide them toward when we talk about how to begin your mindfulness practice? You've given us the basis. A few more nuggets before we wrap up to help our followers, your followers, to really get going on this journey.
Right. And so when we talk about the basics of mindfulness, after we've decided to be aware and to be committed and consistent, we need to make some other people accountable, whether they like it or not. And so that means creating boundaries around what we're going to do. If the triggers that we're experiencing are coming from other people or other things or other stuff that we've created, even from ourselves, we have to create a boundary around not allowing ourselves to be pulled in to that story anymore.
Lord have mercy, Dale. You're taking me to church. You're taking me to church. Dale.
We have to create the boundaries or else we're going to continue.
My goodness. And so many of us, me included, I'm telling you, I'm going to be sharing my story because as I've shared with you, Dale, and that's why I'm with you now, the last few years, truthfully, and it's all come to head because what was happening? Ignoring it, stuffing it away, and then it just explodes, right? And a part of that problem is boundaries, accessible to any and everything and anyone 24/7, no time for true, consistent self-care. The one thing that has become a habit is I know what I'm eating, I'm not, plant-based foods, whole foods, but emotionally and mentally there were some things that were being ignored, and that is my truth. So it came to a head. So those boundaries is a critical part of that process.
Right, you're going to hold people and places and things and experiences accountable whether they want to be held or not.
Yes.
Because you're going to create that boundary. You're going to set the environment in which you're going to grow. They're not going to tell you how you're going to grow. You're going to set the environment. And whatever small change it is that you need to make, whatever you need to put on the outside of your boundary or bring on the inside of your boundary, you have to answer that question. But the boundary must be made.
So important, so important. Dale?
Another thing that I can add, sorry, Rhonda, the last thing I can add is, at any moment that you find yourself in a daze, ask yourself, am I in the past, the future, or the present? So just bring your mind back. Okay, I want to be here. I want to recognize the sunshine. I want to recognize the fact that I'm breathing. I want to recognize the fact that I can see, that I have a car that I can drive, and I want to recognize that I get to parent these children. I want to recognize that I get to have food and I'm in a home and I'm comfortable. I want to be right here rather than what I have to do next week or how the man down the road, and that for me, holding on to things that happened in the past. I want to be here. So that's another nugget. Asking yourself whenever you are in a daze or carried about or consumed with emotion, am I in the past? Am I in the future, or am I right here?
Yes, you said something powerful to me in our session, and you said, as it comes up, particularly if it's something in the past, acknowledge it, and you've guided me symbolically in how to rest it aside and remind myself that yes, that happened, but it's not happening right now. That was so powerful for me. It happened, but it's not happening right now. So come back. Bring yourself back to what is happening right now in the here and now. And I've truly been, and it's helped me tremendously because I find my mind wandering, which is natural. And that takes you on an emotional, you feel it in your stomach and in your chest. And I'm consciously now saying, all right, come back right here. It's not happening right now, right? And so that is critical. Thank you for that. So we've talked about being aware. And after you're aware, being committed to determine what you're going to do with that, you know, how are you going to deal with those things? Don't push it aside. Don't push it down anymore, but find a way to release it, whether it's journaling, speaking it, you know, through the support of persons around you. And then, of course, setting those boundaries. Setting those boundaries is also important as well. So, Dale, we've talked about a lot today. This is just cracking the ice, so to speak. You know, Carrie says, yes, we use that. Yes, we use it in counseling, the check-in questions, right? And then, as you said, coming back to center, coming back to center. Because if you allow yourself, it's very easy. I'm sure so many of us can relate that we can go into a tizzy, right? And work ourselves up.
And it's not even us going into the tizzy, it's us connecting to that neuron that has a sequence pattern that says, here, we're going to add anger in here and stress right there. So now let's jump on this sequence right now. Let's go to that sequence so we can break the sequence. So you have to figure out how you're going to break it. And one way is breathing, but for everyone, breathing isn't going to work. Some it's movement, you know, some it's music. How are you going to break your sequence looks different for everyone.
I love that. And so the takeaway is, one, we all have, and I'm going to just use the scientific term, established or pre-established synaptic connections in our brain. And so the mindfulness practice allows us to understand what they are, the patterns in terms of how we got there, and then to help us to create new connections, to feel them, to understand them, to release them, and over time to create new connections, new patterns, new behaviors, new habits that are helpful and healthy and wholesome, that we can incorporate in our lifestyle. Yes?
Yes. So it's so deceptively simple, right?
It is.
That people are like, that don't work. That's all she would tell me to do. That don't work. So I challenge you, if you don't do anything else, just take 5 minutes for yourself in the morning to let your thoughts arise and set your intention for the day. Just 5 minutes. Because in that moment, you're saying, here's what's happening, and here's what I want to happen for the rest of this day. Perfect practice. That's all that you can do. Do that consistently.
Yeah, set your intention. Align your thoughts with the universal energy as you pray, as you meditate, so that you can, as you said, begin to train the brain in the direction that you wanted to go. Dale, thank you so much. Again, this is just the beginning of our conversations. We're going to talk more about mindfulness in schools, which is a critical and important part of your work, because we have to start with the young ones, right? Our seeds, and guide them. They don't have as much of, you know, what it is that they can learn earlier, I should say, to manage and in a better way that maybe many of us have. I want to acknowledge several of our other wellness partners who Dale also knows. Aisha, who has a beautiful program called Rise and Align. I've already talked about my fitness coach. He says it's going to be easy. Dale, I'll call you and let you know. He says tomorrow is going to be easy. We're going to the Queen's Staircase.
I need some coaching, Jay, and I want to know how long it's going to take for me to get my belly flat.
Exactly. And of course, my partner, Carrie, who is building Jones, and we have so many others who are joining us. Thank you so much to all of you for being here, who've joined us live. Thank you so much to those who will watch the replay. I know that, as Dale says, it sounds simple, and there are simple things that you can do, but what is important, as I have to remind myself, I have to look in the mirror as I say this, and this is what we talked about in Rise and Align today, and that is holding yourself accountable to be consistent, So we will talk more, Dale, this is just the beginning of how to begin a mindfulness practice. So much more to come, because this is going to be our focus for the Love Yourself and Your Health campaign for the next few weeks, because it is so important to just get people started, right? Just get started. So with that, I thank you so very much. We will talk again. I'm looking forward to having you back several times going forward. And keep doing the work, because your work is critical. It's the foundation. It really is. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you for your support, Rhonda.
Absolutely. Keep doing well. Peace and blessings, love and light.
Peace and blessings, everyone.
All right. Take care. Till next time.